So, The Wonderful 101 was one of the Wii U games I was most excited to see come over to the Switch. Still, in my opinion, this was probably the most underrated Wii U game that was ever released. So, being opened up to a wider audience on other platforms, specifically the Switch of course, which already has multiple times bigger of an install base than the Wii U, I figured finally, many more are going to discover this gem. When Platinum announced the Kickstarter for the project, I backed the hell out of it, pitched in at a high tier, while many told me it was stupid. ChiGuy, I thought you didn't back Kickstarter games. Still, I went on, I hyped up its success. Guys, it's Platinum, it's gonna be great. Yeah, the problem is, this remaster is simply not as good as the original Wii U version. Let's start with that Kickstarter itself, because all this drama with the delivery of the Kickstarter rewards hasn't been great for this game as well. It's been a shit show. First, keys went out to Nintendo Switch backers that literally said none. Like when you went to see what your key code was, it just said none. Like, how does that even happen? There were many codes that went out that didn't work, but also physical backers haven't received the game yet, which, yeah, makes sense with the COVID stuff going on. Things are delayed, they even said that. At this point, who even knows when we're going to get those Kickstarter physical versions? But if you were a physical backer, you did get a free game key as compensation for Steam. So hopefully you have a PC to play this game on. That was some BS in my opinion. I can't stand when a product gets crowdfunded and the people who pledge, who give money early on, get treated the worst. Yeah, again, I get that they couldn't deliver the physical goods yet, but people who backed the physical versions should have been given keys for, get this, the system they backed on. Because yeah, like people who backed like the Switch digitally did end up getting their Switch codes eventually. So why couldn't you give people who backed a physical Switch version a digital Switch code? Makes no sense. And it wouldn't be as bad if the situation was like, those physical rewards are going to be a week later, 2 weeks later, something like that. But no one even knows when they're coming. It's honestly kind of like when I made fun of the Stadia pre-orders, and it's bad if I compare you to Stadia, with people who pre-ordered the service waiting longer to get their codes than the people just buying in on day one. Like if you bought a physical copy, and again, don't have a PC to play that Steam code on, you just get to wait till who knows when to get that physical copy to play. Again, that's your reward for giving them money early. Completely stupid. So that's what I have to say about the way the Kickstarter stuff has played out. But let's talk about the actual game itself, because it did release yesterday. With this being a remaster, the thing people are most interested in are the visual improvements. In terms of like improvements to in-game models and that, there's really not much of a difference. It's all about the bump in resolution. The game runs at 1080p pretty much across the board. I know on PC you can do like 4K, ultra-wide display, all that good stuff. But on the Switch and PS4, the game runs at 1080p up from 720p on the Wii U. Also, the frame rate is something people are taking a look at. The game really struggled to maintain even close to 60 FPS on Wii U, and on most platforms the frame rate is improved, except for, of course, the Switch. The platform I care about, the platform I'm sure many of you were most interested in. Digital Foundry did a great video, as they tend to do, about the performance of the game, and found that in some spots you're actually looking at even worse performance on the Switch than you did on Wii U, which really sucks, especially for action games. I always say, action games, shooters, fighting games as well, those types of games when you're trying to have quick reaction time, put in a lot of different button inputs, you really want to maintain those frame rates, as the fast action can be heavily impacted by it. And that's why I'm more irritated by this, because they also noticed some improvements to the performance when the system was undocked in handheld mode. Likely because in handheld mode, the game runs at 720p, because the resolution of the Switch screen is 720p. So it's like, and I talk about this a lot in the age of 4K and that, where with so many games, why can't you just give me the option to lower the resolution to try and improve frame rate? Some games do it, and I praise them a lot, having like a performance mode, but this should be like standard. Because if the game is getting better frame rates in handheld mode, It's hard for me to believe that I wouldn't get the same in docked mode if I was able to set the resolution to 720p. So annoying. Now, I've been told, I've only played the Switch version myself, so I've been told that the performance on other versions of the remaster is much better, but my problems don't end there. With this originally being a Wii U game, it is one that took fairly good use of the gamepad and the ability to display things on both screens. So I was curious going in as to how they were going to kind of change things to make these elements more suitable to all these other platforms that have, now a single display. The thing is, they really didn't change much. They instead just cluttered the screen with more windows and such for you to access to see things all on here. It just doesn't look very appealing. Thankfully, for like the general action things, you can just remove that second screen because it isn't so necessary, but this also amplifies some issues that I still have that are holdovers from the original version. For instance, the camera was something I complained about in my review of the original Wii U release, as I felt like you're often fighting the camera more than the enemies as you try to see what's going on. The game is obviously very frantic to begin with as you're controlling this massive mob of characters as well as often trying to fight a bunch more, and having the camera take wonky positions that make it even tougher to follow the action is a big problem, especially in like chase sequences where you're running from something. It can be a pain to see where you're even supposed to be going, and they didn't seem to change much in the camera department from the original version to this new remaster. So in some cases, you have this issue with the camera, and then stack on top of it this multiple display thing you got going on, and it's just, this is a lot. Like in many of the puzzles in the game, I had a problem in the original with often having to be in very confined spaces, and the camera makes it hard to see what you're doing. And for many of those puzzles, you also needed both displays, the Wii U gamepad as well as the main TV, because you had things going on in both simultaneously. So now it's like you're in these awkward close spaces with the screens stacked on top of each other. It's a mess to look at. Now, I don't want to be like, oh, there were absolutely no improvements. There is a bit of new content DLC coming. Load times are much improved. It's actually kind of funny how there's this little training sort of mini game you can play during load screens that made sense with the original release because of the long load times. But here, even on the Switch, it's like you can barely do anything before loading into the next level, which is great. But still, for a remastered release, I think the Wonderful 101 is far from wonderful. I still believe the Wii U version is superior, for sure, to the Switch. You can definitely make the argument for other platforms that have the more stable frame rate that though they're better, but all around, I think they could have definitely improved this thing more. And it's a shame too, because I really love this game. You can go back and watch my original review of it for proof. There's still to this day nothing I've played quite like it. Even though I did play the Wii U release, did a review on it and everything, it took me a few levels to find my footing again with the gameplay. Not because it's bad, just because it's so different, and when you find that groove, it's super engaging and a lot of fun. All that charm and quirkiness is obviously still there, and they didn't even charge the full $60 for this port like Nintendo does with their games. Stuff like that is what makes me so mad, because it's like, I was ready to talk about how Platinum did all this stuff so right, and they made Nintendo look bad. And it's like they had to drop the ball. God damn it. Maybe Platinum will make things right down the line. Hopefully they'll work on that performance. But still, and this is something I've always said, even if they do eventually make things right, improve the game, do something to make things better for the backers, that'd all be great, that'd be a positive, but in my opinion, it doesn't make up for handling things so poorly out of the gate. And it's a shame, because I worry that as a result of the lukewarm reception this remaster has gotten, with people not being blown away by this, that not as many are going to give it a chance, or will wait till it gets heavily discounted to give it a chance. And it's easy for some to be like, oh, just play the Wii U version, I still have mine. Yeah, but not too many people bought the Wii U to begin with. That's kind of the point of all these Wii U releases getting ported over. And I mean, it's not unplayable by any means, just definitely a disappointment, especially with the Switch version. I don't think anyone wants a remaster that feels worse in many regards than the original. Anyway, with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the Wonderful 101 remaster in the comments. Are you currently playing the game? And what has your experience been like with it so far? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the Wonderful 101 Remaster. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.